Hey everyone, it's December 3rd, and that means that if today's your birthday, you share it with Spanish serial killer José Antonio Rodríguez Vega, known as El Mata Viejas, or the Old Lady Killer, who murdered at least 16 elderly women in the 1980s, and that is him right over there. Born in 1957, Vega grew up in Cantabria, Spain. When he was a teenager, his father was very sick, and the two didn't get along, and Vega severely beat the man during an argument. His mother kicked him out of the house, and he harbored a resentment over this for the rest of his life. Vega took work as a bricklayer, which he used as a means of finding victims who reminded him of his mother. He would approach the homes of elderly women and convince them to hire him to perform work on the house. Both handsome and charming, the women often agreed to anything Vega suggested. Once inside, he would overpower the women and sexually assault them. He was married, but this didn't stop him from cruelly attacking a handful of women in the area. In 1978, Vega was arrested and charged with a series of rapes and received a sentence of 27 years in prison. His good behavior and ability to charm his victims into forgiving him saw that sentence reduced to 8 years, and he was released in 1986. Vega's wife left him, but he quickly married a mentally disabled woman who he took advantage of and abused physically and emotionally behind closed doors. The outside world often thought of him as a well-behaved, hard-working husband, but just after his release from prison, he began attacking women again, but this time with deadly consequences. He would now convince women to let him in their homes by posing as an insurance salesman or TV repairman, and once inside, would attack. The first murder victim was an 82-year-old woman he sexually assaulted and forced to swallow her own false teeth, causing her to choke to death. All of his victims were above 65, and he would often engage in acts of necrophilia, even violating the corpses with brooms or other objects he found lying around. He was unable to complete the sexual act, so no semen was ever found at the scene of his crimes, which made catching him more difficult than it may have been otherwise. Vega was a neat freak and left spotless crime scenes with no trace of him having been there, and he tucked his victims into bed when he left in an attempt to make it seem like they died naturally. His first 3 victims weren't even classified as homicides at the time. Like many killers, he took home trophies with him, which he placed at an altar he constructed in his apartment. When he was finally arrested for murder in 1988, local media broadcast photos of the altar, and relatives of unknown victims recognized mementos he had taken and called the police, who were able to tie him to additional crimes. Once the additional victims were factored in, Vega's death toll consisted of at least 16 murders. He initially confessed to all his crimes, but denied doing so at his trial. In 1991, he was convicted and sentenced to 440 years in prison, which under Spanish law effectively meant he would serve 20. But in 2002, 2 fellow inmates stabbed Vega to death, saying it was part of the code of honor amongst prisoners. Spain's most prolific serial killer, Vega was buried the next day in a funeral only attended by the gravediggers. If this is your birthday, I hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment so I can wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone whose birthday it is today, send them this video so they can find out all about their birthday twin. And to José Antonio Rodríguez Vega, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.